Hi guys, Mary here. Okay, I'm trying to do a video in the spray booth. Okay, so I've got the mic here, and the trouble, they said buy the one with the longest tether, and all I do is trip over this tether. It's way too long. See, I should have bought a small tether one for things like this, but thank you very much for helping me as I struggle with trying to learn how to do videos in the studio. You know, when I was born, hey, there weren't even electric typewriters, and some of you probably don't even know what a typewriter is. So here it goes. I'm going to put it on this side of me, and hopefully you can hear me. And let me see if I've got it on and off. Okay, it's smartphone off, camera. So I guess not camera, so I guess smartphone. And thank you. A couple of you wrote and let me know that the sound was okay. It was better. So let's hope today. So I'm going to move the camera now. That I'm still learning to look in the lens and not at the screen. So I'm going to turn the camera now, and I'm going to start glazing this piece. Now this is a vase, and there is a piece that fits in the top here, right in here, which actually holds the water because the piece is so big. It's probably about 22 inches high. And so the whole idea is this is the container for the vase. It is hollow inside, though. I made it as a vase, and then as I was building, I said, there's no way anybody's going to fill that up with water. But anyway, so I do have a piece that fits in here, and I'll show you towards the end that piece, because I took it out because I'm going to be spritzing glazes on here. Now this is stoneware paperclay, so let's see, and just show you stoneware paperclay, and it's two-sided. Let me see if I can't in my spray booth. So big, even for my very big spray booth. But you can see, here's the bottom. That's the back side of it, and the imagery wraps right around of the landscape. My old clunky turntable here in the spray booth. Now I've repaired a couple places, and what I used was some more stoneware paperclay with a few additives that I teach about in my workshops. So it's been fired to cone 6. And it had a lot of this color, the blue, the white, all this color was on there because I was trying for a once for, but I can do better. So I'm going to fire it again, and instead of a mid-fire cone 6, I'm going to put on glazes that are low fire. So 06, and I'm using some AMACOs. So here's I like the AMACO crystals, and I also add some more crystals to the glazes. So I probably added this is azurite, and I added and it does have some crystals in it, but I added more, and they do sell some. I understand they're getting ready not to have them anymore, but in the meantime, yeah. So, and then there's, why is everything backwards? Is that what happens when you reverse it? Everything gets backwards? I didn't know that. I'm learning something. Okay, and then this is Aquamarine 021. The advantage to this one is it's sort of the color that it is, but I have added some things. If it doesn't look the color it is, I usually add something so I can have feedback that it is the, you know, and I always have a test tile. I know in this case an 06. So this is Aquamarine 021, also, you know, the opalescence. So I'm going to be using some opalescence, some crystals. I'm going to be using some spritzed underglazes. This is electric blue, one of my go-tos, and I have a lot of them, and I could show you, but you've seen it before. If you've seen the other videos, go to my YouTube channel and see some of the other videos where I show you some stuff. So I've already started with spritzing some blue. So I spritz some electric blue. Any place that I didn't get color, I see there's a couple places up in here that I didn't get color. So I just spritz it. Now normally I would have the waterfall in the spray booth going. And there's a waterfall that goes back here and a vent system that pulls anything I spray towards it, but for demonstration purposes it really has to be turned off. So yeah, I should be wearing some kind of mask, but then you wouldn't be able to understand me. So, but normally I would be wearing a mask, and if you look over here you can see them. And sometimes I actually wear earphones because I don't like the sound of the vent going, and if I'm using the compressor to actually spray some glazes, that adds even more noise, and I don't like noise and never have. I like quiet. So I have lots of, and I have face guards over here. You know, I have ones for my students, ones for me. Okay, so that's that, right? We get the idea. And I hope this doesn't fall off. I should probably try my phone, but it's easier for me to see what I'm doing. So anyway, so I am, at this point, I've got LM11, which is a low fire matte glaze, AMACO. There it is, AMACO. And I'm just going to put it, I already sprayed some electric blue in the interstices and got rid of it on the high points. The nice point now is, since this has been fired to cone 6, I can sponge off anything I don't like. If it gets in the things, I can go in and spray it. So basically the angel is part of the cloud, basically. So she is going to be the white of the cloud too. And so I've got a cloud coming up here, and there's sky up in here, and so I'm working that to and all I've got is a cheapy fan brush. I like the fan brush. And now guys, when you're working sculpture, you don't have to put on 4 coats of the only part that's going to hold water on this is the part that fits in up in here, that's actually made to hold the flower. So none of this has to hold water, you know. So I'm more interested in getting really nice color and not losing the detail that I sculpted. So if you go and put on 3 coats like you would for a pot, you're going to lose all your detail because all the interstices are going to fill in. So don't do that, because you don't need to for sculpture. So, and you want as much, so here it's pretty dark blue, and I think he's going to be a gray. So I'm going to start, or at least like the cloud, because I don't know about you, but my idea of a horse was to take me on journeys, and I could just imagine galloping across the clouds on a horse. Maybe someday in heaven, huh? But I certainly thought about those kind of things when I was a kid. And I'm sure this girl hugging her horse, and let me see if I can get it down so you can see her hugging her horse, and he's lying down. He's not a Pegasus yet. He doesn't have wings, but you see her angel's looking over her, and her dreams will come true someday. She can dream of racing across the clouds on her horse. So I should be sort of, their color should be, to tell that story, I think it should be not of earth but of sky. So she's sort of pale blue from the first fire, which is, I put on a lot of the medium blue and sky blue on her. And so I'm just, and what you don't want to do, guys, you don't want to do is put one solid coat of white over there. You want it to be painterly. You want to put on layers of color, and you don't want to put them on thick. So hence this fan brush. I think that's what it's called, fan brush, because you don't get it everywhere. And so if you look, I'm not getting it everywhere. I'm going to try to get a little on her legs. And so basically I want the horse and her to be one, because if you're a rider, you always think about being one with your horse, right? So that's what I'm doing at this point. Trying to get, and then while I'm at it, I've got the and you see I've got a little very wet goopy clay here for if I need to fill in anything, and it's got extra paper in it and some other additives that I show when you come and take a workshop. So I had a little place where the straw came out on the so I have repaired those places, filled them in a little bit with this very slippy almost clay, and then I'm just going over it with glaze right over it, and I'm not even waiting for it to be dry. I don't care. And it's the same clay, but it's just, you wouldn't want to do another appendage like this and then fire it, because the next fire is 06, and this clay is a cone 10 clay, which I fire to 6 because that's vitrification. So all I want to do is fill in some little places that aren't doing what I want to do, not add big things or anything. Now, you couldn't add a beak or something like that, but you can fill in little divots that you don't like, and that's what I'm also doing here. So I've done that with so I've put on opaque white LM11, and then I would like to mix it up a little bit with a little 010, which is let me go get it. Oh, how can I get it when I'm covered in? Well, first I'm going to wash my hands. So this is going to get loud as I wash my hands here. So I've got hot water here in the spray booth for just washing my hands and also washing out the spray booth. Someday I'll do a video just about my spray booth for you, but not this time. So I'm just gotta run get some 010. 010 is opalescent. Is an opalescent. It's glossy. The 011 is opaque white, and opalescent is a little see-through. Okay. I'm back. I will have to learn how to edit these, right? Okay, I hope you can hear me okay. I'm back with my lapel mic on again. So I've pulled from my shelf LM20 Blue Iris. So that's a nice deep blue. And I've already got some electric blue underglaze, and this is a very LM, the M stands for matte, right? So, and the L is lead free. So, safe for you to use. And here is 010, that's an opalescent. It's somewhat transparent. This is a picture of it over terracotta. So I might vary the white on my clouds. I've already got some that opaque white, that 011. And now I'm going to put the 010, which is somewhat see-through. So, and I'm going to do the same, it on the horse too. So I'm varying, not only do I want to vary color, but I want to vary glossy and matte. So I might just gloss up her face a little bit, maybe. So I'm just putting some of the glossier white, maybe her too. Maybe around his eye, just to shine that up. So I don't want it shiny all over, but I want some shine. And when you add a little shine in a place, your eye is drawn to it. So places where I might want it drawn to. So, and while I'm at it, I probably will add some decals on her dress. So decals take really nicely over a glossier surface. Not that you can't do them over a matte. You can. It's just they tend to skip and not always attach well. But sometimes that looks nice too. So depends on what you want. So all I'm doing at this point is I'm adding white again. You can't even tell the difference at this point to her dress that she's wearing. And I add a little on her face, a little on her hand, maybe a little bit on her shoulder, maybe her knees, and maybe to bring the eye down to her feet. I'm going to go to the feet. So there are the feet. Trying to get it so you can actually see something. So the feet are down there. And maybe at the end I should just take it off the thing so you can see. But I don't want too much, right? So there's another foot back here. And that will help, if she's slightly glossy, I'm thinking, that will help to differentiate her from the horse a little bit. But I don't want her too glossy, so I think I'll leave her hair in the matte. And just a little bit on her elbow, a little bit on the high points. And so that's should come a combination of, and this opalescent is sort of cream out of the thing, but it is white. It's white, see-through white. Opalescent, it's that, basically. And so I'm not doing it over terracotta, but I'm doing it over essentially a dark blue clay at this point from the work I did on it. So didn't take much of that. And then I'm wondering, maybe just a little on the high points in the clouds too. So I'm going back up to the clouds. Wouldn't it be nice to have a videographer to help me here? But my husband used to do this kind of thing for me, knocking over glazes in the booth. So I'm just wondering, just some little high points of the clouds, because clouds are not in essence shiny, and maybe just to bring her out a little bit. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. Maybe I'll dull down the clouds again. I'll come back with the 010, and if you really wanted to go very matte, you can come back in with underglaze into this glaze. Yeah, underglaze and glazes I like, and you know, sometimes I get a little bubbling and whatnot, but I like all the texture I can get. So her face is sort of, but I shined up this, and now I'm thinking maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe the clouds would be dull and leave her shiny. Maybe her wings a little shiny. So a little more. This is what? 010, guys. Opalescent transparent pearl is what they're calling it. So just the high points of some of the feathers. So now we've got lots of layers on these feathers. We've got some matte white, which is quite opaque. We've got this opalescent, and there was electric blue sprayed into it, and of course it has the blue from the last fire. So while I'm at it, I'm going to go back and add the opaque white, the LM11 AMACO. And this cloud is sort of coming in front of her. She is the cloud, but I want her separate. And I know you've looked at the clouds and seen angels. One time we were coming home, and hubby and I had been praying about something, and he all of a sudden, and you know, he's been sick, and I don't always know how, depending on how there he is, but he pointed at the cloud and he said, "Look at Jesus walking across the clouds." And sure enough, it was. I pulled over to try to get a picture, but by the time I pulled over, it was gone. But that was exactly what the cloud looked like as he pointed it out. It's pretty neat, huh? So on the other side I've got clouds too, so I need to deal with them. I've also got the white of the sheep, right? So here, this is pretty white because I put on already some LM10 or so. I don't really need much more there. And this is a crystal glaze, a turquoise crystal glaze, and then across the top of that I sprayed some electric blue into it, which would dull it down a bit and make it, and I sprayed water to make it run. So I wanted some runniness in there. So I'm noticing the clouds have texture right up in here too. See it? I'm having to paint sideways so you can see. I've definitely got to come up with a better plan. But in the meantime, I'm learning, right? Got to start somewhere. And I watched a video by somebody online about it, and he said, just do it. Just go do it. Just go start and learn as you go. So thanks for putting up with me, guys. Now, when I look at the sky, it tends to be yellow towards the bottom of our mountains and then get darker on the way up. And I did some of that work. I don't know how much you can see, but this is somewhat yellow in here. And then it moves up into a dirtier, deeper blue. And so I'm going to play with that a little bit. And now this is blue iris, but I added some pigment to it. Some dye, actually. I think a little alcohol dye, which would burn out, but at least for the time being, while I'm working on it, it will look like the color, pretty close to the color I'm doing it. It's not quite the color. You see, it's darker, but at least it's bluer than it was in the jar, which is what I wanted. And I could add a little black, but I'm worried about that alcohol stain. Black is probably made with lamp black, which would fire, or some kind of oxide. So I'd have to do a test tile, because that's what I have a lot of work into this, and I would not want these clouds to come out black. So I just want this sky. Remember, this is turquoise in this lighter area here. This is turquoise. So, and I've already, and where's my water? Oh dear. Where is my water? Did I miss it up? All right, excuse me while I go get water. Well, maybe I can walk with this very long hair. So, to keep it from having a hard edge, what I like to do is just spray it and move it a little bit. And I like runs, especially in the sky, because the sky rains, right? So, to me, if you're going to have runs, that's a good place to have it. And so I'm going to come up with this dark blue up under here, because this turquoise is pretty light. And usually what happens with the sky, as you look at it, it goes from yellowish, at least here in our desert, and then gets darker on the way up, you know. So I probably will darken this. I'll go over the turquoise. So now I've got a matte glaze over a glossy opalescent glaze. And you see these little bumps in here? Can you see them? And I'll show you how I did that. I did that with, those are crystals. And I'll show you how to use them. I keep on walking away. I hope this isn't hurting your ears when I take off that mic. So these are, this is a AMACO glaze bits. The number on it is CC108. And all this is a spice jar. And sometimes it looks like, oh, what I did here was, this is an experiment. I took some dried glaze, CC108, and I mixed it in with some glaze bits too, and I crushed it all up together. And I really need So if you get a spice jar, you see, you can, and this is, what color? This is moss green. So up in the deep, it might, and so I've laid in glaze, all right? And I'm just gonna, it's hard to do it like this. I'm gonna have to find a better way. So I'm just laying in dark blue glaze, and then I'm shaking it. I'm shaking it, and if it's too much, I'm just gonna let it come off. And if you get on the horse, that might be rather interesting and might make him sort of dapply, but in the meantime, I spilt a little blue on the sheep's head. But that's not a big deal. Actually, a little bit of blue in that black would make it a little more interesting, I think. So see, a lot of times I think they're happy accidents. They're the muse telling me, oops, Ken. So I had a drip fall on top of his head, and then I got to thinking, you know, it might be nice for this to, and this is a mat, so, and though if I don't like it, I can soften it with water. Yeah. So does this work on pots? Well, this is a pot in essence, but it's not made to hold water. Only the part that's going to hold water, remember, is up there. So then, this is 021. It's called Aquamarine, and I have layered it here over a yellowish tan glaze. It layers really well over 021, tawny 021. Also, goes a little yellower, but you see how the yellow breaks through the blue. And remember, I said that skies right in here were better. So skies right along the edges of the mountains tend to be yellow, and so if I put some 021 over some, I forget what glaze that is, but it works just as well and gets a little yellower over 021. What is it? 012? It's tawny. Opalescent tawny. Okay, so opalescent 12. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brush, and I'm just going to add some of that tawny. And now this is going to look really bright, but you see from the test tile that it, when you put the 021 over it, it calms it down quite a bit. And I'll let that run too a little bit. So up over my mountains a little bit. And any place I want it to go a little more turquoisey, yellowy, especially along the edge of the mountains. And while I'm at it, tawny is really nice for this wheat kind of. So I'm going to put a little tawny on there too. Right now I have the fired on underglazes. Looks like I use straw and yellow and some white. And but I still want because I did a lot of texture there, I would want the interstices there to be dark. So I'm going to spray something that's fairly dark in there. Let's see what I got. I could spray. Well, let's. This is maroon, watered down, and this one has settled a bit. See, you can see it settled a bit. I hope it's not too loud on you guys. Oh, I forgot to put my mic back on. Oh. I'm going to have to work out something better than this. But anyway, so I'm going to spray some maroon, so it, and when you spray it, it sort of forces it into the interstices. And while I'm up there in the mountains, I might as well spray a little there. And then when I was working on this, it's hard doing this for you. The wheat started to look like an owl, so I went with it and I made it look like an owl. So, and if a little gets on so that's all kinds of maroon right there, and any place, and I'm going to soften it on the clouds. See how I did? It gets rid of it a little bit, and any place it's. And I'm going to also put it on the earth here because the earth underneath him. And this is watered down, so the color is very, very mild. You know, you're not putting on a lot of color, but you're layering like a painter would. And as some of you may know, that's where I came from. I came out of painting. My MFA isn't painting, but I did study classical sculpture while I was at AMACO with Tilden Street. Is Tilden Street still alive? I don't know. I know he's retired. Okay, so while I'm at it, this maroon can go very dry and very dark. This is an underglaze, right? And I put that blue glaze on. So I'm just going to get some maroon in the interstices of the lamb. And the way I get it off the top is I can take a dry brush and just brush it back. So that's just a dry brush right there. Same with here, I can brush it back a bit. And what did I do with the tawny? I've been knocking things over right and left. And come back in on the high points here again. I haven't even cleaned the brush, but I sort of like the idea that it's got other colors in it. So the tawny, while it goes on very yellow, it will go back. It won't be so bright yellow. And anything you put over it, it makes it move really nicely. So, and you can see just from the now, while I'm at it, I've got this crystal, right? I'm going to come in there and I'm going to take that and put it right over, because it's a lot like the opalescent. As the base is, it's called azurite, and it's a crystal text AMACO. And I added something to it so it doesn't come out of the jar this exact color. It may come out sort of grayish from the copper oxide, but I just added a blue color that will fire out, just so I can have I can look at it as more. So yeah, that's nice. Now, and while I'm at it, do I have a little white? I do. What's this? So this is ivory beige. It's underglaze. And so this will sort of flesh up things. I'm going to put that there. I'm going to put it on the sheep. And yeah, I got some on the road, but that's easy to get off. Just let it run. Runs are wonderful, in my book at least. So I'm just going to add some up in the sky a little bit. Maybe up into the wings. So now I've got a lot of color on those clouds, which is going to make them very interesting, I hope. So I'm going to come over to my girl, and I'm just going to, remember I put that glossy opalescent pearl on there, transparent pearl, and I'm just going to spray a little ivory on her. And then I'm going to clean my brush in this case. And I'm going to soften that whole thing. And just soften. I don't want spots. She's not going to be dappled. But I wanted to just flesh up her a little bit. But this is underglaze, so this will matte her skin. So even with that, I'm going to come back with my, after I've done that, come back a little and find that, because I don't want it totally matte. Just sort of give and take in various places. So I'm adding shine in essence and a little more transparency. And I'm getting the bottom of her foot too. Yeah. So while I'm here, I could probably add some of this. No, not there. So I'm going to come back. I decided I don't want the clouds shiny. I want them matte. So I'm coming back with the, and if I really want matte, what I can do is just get some ivory white underglaze and work right into it. Let's see, where's my ivory white underglaze? There it is. So here's some, this is just ivory white. It's had a hard life. I use a lot of white underglaze. It brightens up things, brightens up the color. So I'm going to come back in the clouds, and this, sometimes this makes it a little slightly foamy when I go back into a gloss glaze on the edges, which I like, especially since it will add a little texture to these clouds. I found I like that. So I'm going to, because I know it can foam up a little bit, I'm going to keep it off her face. But I am going to keep it on the clouds, so that'll probably add some nice texture. And while I'm here, I've got a, somewhere I got a pink. This is a rose. Okay, so this is AMACO Glaze Rose, and I'm going to just add some of that, and it's watered down. And you hear the marbles in there, Ben, and all I'm doing is adding some more of that color along my mountains. And I'm not worried too much about the fact that it's gone into the clouds, because I can control that. I can come with my dry brush and take it off, take some of it off. Right? I can add water if need be, but my dry brush works pretty well. And you know, these are glazes, they dry pretty quick. And I like the sort of pink coming down into her dress, so I'm just going to go with that. And maybe even pink up her cheek just a little bit. But this is sort of a purpley, pinky rose, right? Maybe just a little on the cheeks up there, just a touch. Maybe on the horse too. So maybe he can be blushing a little bit. Whoa! So if you have too much, like I might have had there, you just spray it with a little water. That way you're not rubbing off what's underneath. All you're doing is wetting it again. So that's coming along nicely. I'm going to get his other side back here. And I think where he's starting to hit the mountains, I think I'll just make him sort of as if he's almost see-through. He's transparent. He's so spiritual. That the things behind him are... And I'll soften that a little bit. Oh, I like that. I'm happy with that. And where the yellow is, I can bring it off of there a little bit. Because remember, that yellow is fired on, so it's not going anywhere at this point. So that's nice. That's a good start for that. I think I maybe need a little yellow back here, so right in there, I think I get it rid of. Yeah, that's better. Same with over here. So, and I didn't put any tawny on this side, so I'm going to do that while I'm here. I'm going to take my dry brush, which is now wet anyway, and just add a little. And this is glossy. Opalescents are glossy, right? And eventually I get so many glazes in the spray booth that I start knocking them over. That's why I have this turntable I bought years ago at a garage sale for 25 cents. It's made of plastic, but it's done its job. It has a sort of a lift on it, so it brings it up so I'm, you know, out of the spray booth a little bit. So I'm just going to, can you see what I'm doing? Can you? No. It's really hard to show you. So I'm coming around this side, and I'm going to add some more tawny. And I've got a terracotta and I've got a salmon, so underglaze. So remember, I've just put on a glossy glaze, at least on the high points, right? And now I'm going to come and I'm going to spray into the eyes because I want that dark in there. And that is salmon. I'm going to come in with the purple too. That'll help make it even darker in there. Right in there. And let's see. I've got a brown. This is a sienna brown. I'm going to add that there because maybe on the road a little bit because I want the road to be not brightly colored. And so I'm just going to take a sponge and sponge some of that back. And the other thing I can do is come with the water and just see the water will take it way back. So I don't want it always way back. I want inside the eyes, I think I want to be dark in there. And I'll soften up the sheep a little bit. And I think I'll add a little more rose up in here. To my clouds, to my mountains, I mean. I just think spritzed on color goes on so much softer, and it's so easy to make it flow and be more painterly. And I thought it might be dark at the bottom of the mountain, so I just put some electric blue. As far as very dark at 6, but it's brighter at 06. So I'm just going to take that, it's on my brush, and add it to the bottom of the mountains. Maybe I'll come across here and get a little bit along that edge. Whoop. So if I get too much, not a big deal. All right. And ooh, it looks neat in the interstices in the land back there. I like that. Right. So I'm just coming in with the and softening things with my sponge. That's all I'm doing. Softening my color as it blends together. So that's getting better. I'm going to come back with a white underglaze and just go right into, because I've got a lot of glaze on him, and I don't want him to be, so you can see. So I'm coming back with the white underglaze right into glaze. So that will, depending on how much you put in, it will mat it up, and sometimes it bubbles. The white bubbles, I don't like that. But you don't want heavy coats because you want all this texture that you made to come out. You know, you don't want to. That's a little place I repaired there, so it's like soft. Yeah. So that's pretty good. I like that. I like the little purple that's come there. So now what? Well, I think maybe just along the inside of here, because even though once the top is in, I think I need some purple some of that rose up in here, up in the wings at the top. So I'm going to come around and hang up my, okay, this is amethyst. It's purple. And I'm going to spray a little on the inside there, maybe on the tips of the wings. I don't want too much because maybe back in there. So I've got amethyst, rose, I've got some electric blue in there. So don't just paint, fill in the blanks. Don't do that, you know? And because you can make it so much more interesting. You know, I got some up in the cloud, see? And I'm just going to soften it. So when you hit it with water, it tends to go back and run into the interstices. And you can always come back with a little white underglaze in the very high points. Look at, even with your finger paint. I don't think the white is... Yeah, I would normally be wearing gloves, so I would do it with a gloved hand. So while I'm here, all right, so that's a lot to do. I might just lighten his beak a little bit. I don't know. I think I'd like to get the owls and some more dark into the owl's eyes. So I've got to find a dark, and what I could do is a black underglaze, but I'm going to see if I don't have a matte glaze, and I think I do. I have a lot of AMACO LMs because I like them a lot for low fire. I use them on my tiles a lot too. Okay, so back. Now, what I want to do is darken the eyes in here a little bit, and so I have two choices. This is shiny. It's an opalescent, and it's black tulip, and it's almost metallic on this tile that I did, which is a terracotta tile with a white glaze. So it probably won't be as metallic over this, but I'm just going to get that bigness of the eye by adding, and the shininess of what would be an eye. And I'll add a little onto the face of the, just a little. I don't want it super shiny, and since I've already got a lot of matte on there, so it didn't take much, did it? Where else could I put it? Where his beak, back here in his beak, it looks like I put some blacks in there during the first fire, because I see some heavy blacks in there. And then, thinking about it, let me hang up, get some of my spritzes out of the way, because I've got a hanging rack off to my left, and I try to discipline myself to hang them up so I don't knock them over. I really need a shelf there too. So here's the LM1. So there we go. And I'm gonna put some of that on the sheep because I don't want the sheep to be. Hey, this, I haven't opened this one before. I got a little hole in it, but that's about it to make the test tile. So this is a new one for me, obviously. But I like their LMs. I like their mats. I like to layer them with what? I could layer a little bit of the opalescent and a little bit of the matte. And now I also have here, these are white crystals. And I've got a shaker on them. They sell different kinds of shakers. I like the fine one. This is a little big. So all I'm doing is letting some of that come on the sheep so that the white will, once again, do other things. The crystals can grow depending on how slow you slow down the fire and whatnot, and how often you fire this. And I could fire this several times at 06, no problem. So that's pretty nice start. I just still don't know what to do with the road. I like the mottled dullness of it compared to everything else. But I put so much tawny on there, I'm thinking I need a yellow glaze to go over it. Now I could go over it because with just some underglaze. And let me see what I got. Uh-oh. Take my lapel mic off again. So, here's some more glazes. I hear they're doing away with the stones. I hope that's not true because I love them. They're very matte. Here's a, it says lavender on my test tile. It fired very pinkish. So I think that would be nice in the clouds a little bit. This is, I use this for flesh tones a lot, this peach stone. So I'm gonna flesh up the clouds a little bit with my brush. And I've done this all with just 2 brushes. All right, so let me clean my brush again. So I'm just going to take the stone ST51 peach, get it while you can. And this one, I use this on my caged woman, on her flesh tones. You know, the woman that's got the smiley face and makeup on, but the rest of her is very, and then I pinked it up quite a bit because I wanted her to look sort of raw. So I'm adding some peachy color there, maybe on his beak a little bit, and then I'm going to come around to the girl and see what I can add there. Maybe some highlights on the mountains, and maybe a little peachy on the face, little peachy, not maybe the tips of the fingers, maybe a little on the angel as she's coming out of the cloud, maybe on the knees. That tends to be a good place to put the knees too. And notice I don't have a lot of, and this is starting to dry out on me, which I like because that will go 3-dimensional. And I'm getting the tips of her toes with it too, just to flesh it up a little bit. It's still basically blue looking, you know. Maybe a little on the arm of the angel, just a little. Nothing dramatic, no fill in the blanks. Okay, so that's that. Now I've got this LM30 cocoa brown on my test tile. It came out sort of with a slightly purplish, which I think would look nice in parts of the owl, you know, to bring down the purple. So I'm in his darks. I'm going to add a little bit of this. And it is a very matte glaze, once again. And it's so I'm just going to, and maybe just along the edge of the road, in the interstices here, as it goes, so into the black a little bit, maybe just a touch on the, and I like that where it's the blue is run down, but I'm gonna pull it back there just to bring out the, so that's nice. While I'm at it, to pull the sky down, let me see, to pull the sky down into the eyes, I put blue along here. It's starting to dry so you can't see it as well. I'm just going to add there, and I'm going to soften it mightily with my water. So it just disappears quite a bit. So to bring the eye downward to the eyes, I'm repeating the blues, moving downward. And while I'm at it, I'll just give him one more little spritz of blue into, hopefully it'll go in his interstices. I'll soften it mightily. So he's really, see how blue he is? So I'm going to just take that and soften it. And now he's not nearly as blue as he was, you see. And I like the dripping down onto the flesh, down to on his fur. So I'm going to leave that his wool, I guess I should say. So that's, and I gave the owl lids and whatnot. I gave him human sort of looking eyes, you know. So, and I don't know, are owl eyes yellow? I don't know. So I'm taking the black away because I don't think I need it. I'm going to put it over there. So where does that leave us? I've got this LM67. LM is a low-far matte, and this one's called Tangerine. And on my tile, which was had a white glaze underneath it, it's sort of very light. And I'm going to put some of that. I'm going to wash my brush again though first. Still got this ratty old, and this is dried out, and I have not watered it down because I like it. You see how three-dimensional it is because it's drying out in the thing. So I've had it a while, and I like that when they start to go that way. So because it's so nice and thick, I'm just getting it on the high points. And it's a glaze. It's a mattish glaze, so I'm bringing it up here, and I'm going to come over and get some more over here. So this should orange up that the 012, because the 012, it goes on very bright yellow, but it doesn't far bright yellow. It's almost transparent. And mostly I use it because it makes whatever goes over it move. So, and I've got some swirls happening over here. So let me put this away. Oh, did I forget my mic again? Shoot. Maybe you can hear it way over there. I don't know. So I'm just coming here, and I've got some swirls that I made in here. Just to, my ode to Van Gogh there, you might say. So while I'm at it, I'm just going to grab what do I need? Just a plain yellow. Where is it? It's orange. Here it is. So this is velvet. This is velvet. And I'm gonna put even fewer highlights because underneath we've already got the orange, right? The orange glaze. So I'm just touching it. Just touching a couple of the high places. That's all I'm doing. Because I want the orange underneath. So then you're going to get, I painted a lot of wheat fields when I was a painter. So I'm using a lot of what I learned doing that. I used to hike out into the fields in the morning and started painting out there. I had big old boots on because the fields are always so wet with dew. I was younger then, more adventuresome. So that is pretty neat. Let's see, let's go around and see how, if we can do some of that on the other side. So over here, I wanted it to be just a little brighter than over there. So I've kept it yellower. And I wonder if I shouldn't just put a halo of yellow around her hair a little bit. We don't want it bright, so I'll go back and soften it. That's all I did, was add a little halo of yellow there around her head, just where her hair is. And maybe I'll do the same for her. Let the her hair become part of the wheat of the field. And maybe a little bit of his mane too. Yep. So just a little bit of the hair. So it's still pretty just white. Then I'm going to try the line underneath the mountain. I'm going to brighten that up quite a bit. So straight underglaze will brighten that line. I don't know if you can see it, but it will in the fire. Just brighten that, because we got a lot of tawny in there. And this is matte. And matte seems to come out brighter, so that's going to highlight that line under the clouds better. See if I can't carry it around the other side. Maybe lighten up around his eyes, because we got all that dark in there. Maybe a little his eyelids, maybe. Just soften up a little bit. So we're coming back again, and once again I'm gonna, so that you can do a lot of work just with a fan brush. You know, you can use it on its edge and just do a line-ish. And you know, if you give yourself a brush that will not let you fill in the blanks and make pretty edges, you're bound to get a more painterly effect, I think. All right, so that's pretty nice. I'm just going to put a little more of the orange here. I think that's enough for today. I'll think about it for a while. I might put some yellow crystals into here. I might have to glue them down with glaze to get them to, like in the middle of the swirls, I might try to fasten some yellow crystals in there that might grow and make a nice effect. But that's all the news that's fit to print. Let me see if I can't pull this away for you, and so you can see the whole thing, what we've got. So Let's see. I just pulled it out of here. Bear with me. I'll edit it later. Okay, so it's pretty hard to. So, where is the camera? There it is. So you see, let me see if I can hold it like this, and then you can see what's going on with her. I think I'll have to soften that purple right there a little bit, but I like it the way it hits the horse, and I'm wondering if I shouldn't put a little more purple right in there, spritz a little more, bring the eye downward, maybe put some purple on the ends of his feet. Yeah, I think I might darken him. Like a gray, a lot of times will have dark legs. So I think that's the next thing I'm going to do, but not unfinished video for today.